I love the seats. They're really, really relaxing. In terms of relaxation, it can definitely mix it with premium brands. And one of the problems is the engine choice, because you can only get it with 2-litre diesel engines.
Automotive history is filled with models that defined eras, set benchmarks, and became part of daily life for millions of drivers. Yet, behind the excitement of new releases and the constant marketing of the next big thing, some cars vanish with barely a whisper. While headlines celebrate cutting-edge electric vehicles or futuristic concepts, established nameplates that once shaped roads and cultures quietly fade into the background. The reality is that the automotive industry has been undergoing one of the most dramatic transitions in its history. Stricter regulations, changing consumer preferences, and the shift toward electrification are reshaping lineups at a speed that would have seemed unthinkable just a decade ago. Cars that seemed like permanent fixtures, some with decades of heritage, are now becoming relics. Today, we're going to talk about 8 vehicles that were quietly pulled from production. Each one carried its own legacy, and each departure signals not just the end of a model, but also a glimpse into where the industry is heading. Number 8. Chevrolet Malibu. The Chevrolet Malibu has always carried a certain charm. First appearing in the 1960s, it began as a stylish trim on the Chevelle, before taking on a life of its own. Over the decades, the Malibu transitioned into a reliable mid-size sedan that appealed to countless families across America. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't overcomplicated, but it was dependable in a way that kept it on driveways for generations. Yet, November 2024 marked the final chapter. The last Malibu rolled off the production line, quietly closing the book not only on the nameplate, but also on Chevrolet's entire U.S. sedan lineup. With its departure, GM officially stepped away from sedans in the American market, leaving SUVs, trucks, and EVs to carry the torch. The reasons were no secret. Sedans have steadily been losing ground for years, as buyers gravitate toward crossovers and larger vehicles that promise extra space and versatility. Even with a loyal fan base, the Malibu couldn't withstand the tidal wave of consumer demand shifting elsewhere. GM's strategy is now laser-focused on SUVs and electrification, leaving little room for a traditional 4-door sedan. What makes the Malibu's exit more than just another discontinued car is its symbolic weight. For decades, it represented an attainable slice of the American dream, affordable, durable, and familiar. Its presence at dealerships offered a dependable option for people who wanted straightforward transportation without unnecessary frills. For those who grew up riding in the back seat or eventually owning one themselves, the news stings. Not because the Malibu was the flashiest option, but because it was always there, a constant in an ever-changing automotive world. Now, it becomes part of history, joining a long list of sedans pushed aside in favor of bigger, bolder, and electric futures. The Malibu may be gone, but its role in shaping everyday family life will always linger, tucked away in memories of road trips, commutes, and first cars. Its exit signals a changing era, one where practicality takes a new form, and the once essential sedan becomes a relic of the past. Number 7. Ford Edge. The Ford Edge always played the role of the in-betweener. It wasn't too small, and it wasn't too big. Positioned comfortably between the compact Escape and the larger Explorer, the Edge catered to those who wanted SUV functionality, without going full size. Since its arrival in 2006, it struck a balance. Enough cargo space for family needs, comfortable seating for 5, and pricing that didn't demand a second mortgage. But after the 2024 model year, the Edge was officially retired. The decision didn't come because of declining interest alone. It was about Ford's larger goals. The Oakville assembly plant in Ontario, home of the Edge, is being retooled to focus exclusively on electric vehicle production. Ford has been vocal about betting its future on EVs, and to make room for that transition, sacrifices had to be made. Unfortunately for Edge fans, their SUV was on the list. While the discontinuation didn't spark dramatic headlines, it reflects a major industry reality. Automakers can't maintain sprawling lineups while also investing billions in new electric platforms. Something has to give, and for Ford, streamlining meant saying goodbye to the Edge. What makes this notable is how it illustrates the shift from traditional, gasoline-powered mid-size crossovers to next-generation EVs. The Edge served its purpose well, but as Ford eyes the future, its priorities lean toward vehicles designed from the ground up for electrification. That means fewer gas-only models and more all-electric options ready to compete in a rapidly evolving market. For drivers who relied on the Edge's blend of size and practicality, the end feels abrupt. It wasn't a flashy SUV, but it was consistent, reliable, and surprisingly versatile. Its absence leaves a gap for those who valued that middle ground between small and large. In the bigger picture, the Edge's exit highlights a broader theme. Automakers are reshaping lineups not just to meet demand, but to survive in a changing landscape. While it may not be remembered as iconic, the Edge deserves credit for serving as a practical companion through nearly 2 decades of family errands, commutes, and weekend getaways. Its retirement makes way for Ford's electric ambitions, ushering in a new era with different priorities. Number 6. Mini Clubman. The Mini Clubman was never shy about being different. From its split rear doors that opened like a pair of cabinets to its stretched profile, it looked like the hatchback's eccentric cousin who wanted to prove it could handle more luggage. It had personality in spades, but personality doesn't always translate into sales. By 2024, Mini officially ended production of the Clubman. The decision didn't surprise industry watchers. Buyers in its price bracket were far more likely to choose small luxury SUVs, and the Clubman simply couldn't compete with their blend of height, space, and status appeal. While its charm was undeniable, the practicality equation didn't quite add up for most shoppers. The Clubman was Mini's attempt to test the waters beyond its iconic compact hatch. It provided extra cargo room, 4 proper doors, and a slightly more mature presence on the road. On paper, that seemed like a clever formula. In reality, it landed in an awkward space, too pricey for buyers who wanted budget practicality, yet not as commanding as the crossovers that were taking over city streets. Its retirement reflects more than just one model disappearing. It signals the shrinking space for wagons in today's automotive landscape. Stylish or not, wagons have been cornered into niche status, outshined by the unstoppable rise of SUVs. The Clubman was one of the last to hold the line, offering something distinctive in a world of look-alike utility vehicles. For enthusiasts, the loss is bittersweet. The Clubman had flair, character, and a level of uniqueness rarely seen in mass-market cars. For Mini, however, simplifying the lineup means focusing on what sells and putting energy into electrification and core models. The end of the Clubman closes a chapter in Mini's history that celebrated individuality. It wasn't for everyone, but that was the point. Now, the road grows quieter without its quirky presence, and the automotive world becomes just a little more uniform. Number 5. Mitsubishi Mirage. The Mitsubishi Mirage never pretended to be more than it was. Affordable, small, and efficient, it carried a rare distinction in recent years: the cheapest new car in the United States. At under $20,000, it gave first-time buyers, students, and budget-conscious drivers a chance to own something brand new without emptying their wallets. In 2024, that story came to an end. Production of the Mirage officially stopped, marking the disappearance of one of the last true budget cars on the American market. For many, its departure stings more than expected, not because the Mirage was glamorous, but because it represented accessibility in a time when car prices are climbing faster than ever. The reasons behind its exit are rooted in economics. Rising production costs made it harder to keep the price low. Consumer tastes shifted heavily toward SUVs, leaving small hatchbacks and sedans with shrinking audiences. And in a market where horsepower and tech features dominate marketing, the Mirage's modest approach simply didn't resonate with enough buyers. Yet, for the people who bought one, it was exactly what they needed. Its fuel efficiency, compact size, and straightforward mechanics made it a practical companion. It wasn't about prestige or performance. It was about getting from point A to point B without breaking the bank. With its departure, the gap in the market is obvious. The absence of cars like the Mirage highlights a sobering reality. Affordable new vehicles are vanishing. For young drivers or families with tight budgets, the options are now severely limited. What remains are used cars or financing for far more expensive models. The Mirage's farewell is more than the end of a nameplate. It's a reminder of how much the industry has changed. Once, every brand offered an entry-level model aimed squarely at affordability. Today, the idea feels almost outdated. As the Mirage fades into history, it leaves behind a legacy of simplicity and value. It wasn't flashy, but it mattered. And its absence will be felt every time someone realizes that buying a brand new car now requires a much deeper pocket. Number 4. Nissan Titan. When Nissan introduced the Titan in the early 2000s, it was stepping into the most competitive segment of the American market: full-size pickups. The plan was ambitious. The Titan arrived with a burly V8 engine, plenty of towing strength, and a design meant to appeal directly to truck buyers who demanded power and reliability. On paper, it was well equipped to stand alongside the Ford F-150, Chevrolet Silverado, and Ram 1500. Reality, however, told a different story. Despite its abilities, the Titan never managed to win over the core group of buyers who make up the heart of the truck market. Loyalty runs deep here, and for generations, those customers have stuck firmly with domestic brands. Nissan discovered that even with a capable product, breaking through that wall of trust was nearly impossible. The Titan did evolve over the years, offering modern tech, improved towing numbers, and even an XD version designed to bridge the gap between half-ton and heavy-duty trucks. Still, sales lagged far behind Detroit's heavy hitters. By 2024, the writing was on the wall. Nissan announced the Titan's quiet retirement, shifting its attention toward the smaller Frontier, which continues to find steady success in the mid-size segment. The Titan's exit highlights a bigger truth about the American pickup market. It isn't just about horsepower or bed size, it's about heritage, brand image, and decades of reputation. The Titan wasn't a bad truck. It was simply trying to win a game where the rules heavily favored the established players. With the Titan gone, Nissan's future in trucks rests solely on the Frontier, a model with a clear audience and far less competition. For full-size pickup fans, the Titan's departure is a reminder of how difficult it is to challenge the Big Three on their home turf. It aimed high, fought hard, and ultimately bowed out, leaving behind the legacy of a solid but underappreciated contender. Number 3, Audi R8 and TT. The Audi R8 burst onto the scene in 2006 and immediately reshaped perceptions of the brand. With its sharp styling, quattro all-wheel drive, and that glorious naturally aspirated V10, it wasn't just another sports car. It was a statement that Audi could stand toe-to-toe with the world's finest. At the same time, the Audi TT offered something smaller, more attainable, yet equally captivating. Its rounded design and nimble handling earned it a loyal following, especially among drivers who valued style as much as substance. For nearly 2 decades, the R8 and TT added excitement to Audi's lineup. But in 2024, both models reached the end of the road. Their discontinuation wasn't about lack of admiration. Enthusiasts adored them, but shift in priorities made their survival impossible. Stricter emissions regulations, rising costs, and Audi's aggressive march toward an all-electric future left no room for these combustion-driven icons. The R8, in particular, holds a special place in car culture. It represented a dream that felt within reach, often seen as a supercar you could actually drive every day. The TT, meanwhile, proved that a sports coupe could be stylish, approachable, and fun without needing to dominate racetracks. Losing them both in the same year feels like the closing of an emotional chapter. Audi's decision underscores a wider industry trend. Passion projects are increasingly sacrificed in favor of vehicles that fit regulatory demands and long-term sustainability goals. While that shift is necessary for the future, it leaves the present feeling a little less thrilling. For enthusiasts, the absence of the R8 and TT creates a noticeable void. Audi's lineup is still strong, but it's more practical than passionate. These cars weren't about efficiency or sales volume. They were about stirring emotions. Their legacy remains powerful, reminding us of a time when the brand wasn't afraid to indulge in pure driving pleasure. The R8 and TT may be gone, but their impact ensures they'll never be forgotten. They defined an era where design and drama had equal importance, and their departure marks a quieter, more restrained future for Audi. Number 2. Jaguar F-Type. The Jaguar F-Type arrived in 2013 with a heavy burden on its shoulders. It was introduced as the spiritual follow-up to icons like the E-Type, tasked with carrying Jaguar's reputation for breathtaking design and sports car drama into the modern age. With its sculpted bodywork, snarling exhaust notes, and athletic handling, it quickly became the centerpiece of Jaguar's image. Yet in 2024, Jaguar announced the end of the F-Type, closing the curtain on the brand's long history of gasoline-powered sports cars. The decision wasn't about the car's abilities. Far from it. The F-Type remained one of the most striking and evocative models in its segment. Instead, the discontinuation reflects Jaguar's total commitment to reinventing itself as an all-electric luxury brand. The symbolism of this move is impossible to miss. Jaguar built its legacy on curvaceous, soulful machines that captured hearts as much as they conquered roads. By ending the F-Type, the brand signaled a farewell to that chapter of identity. The growl of its supercharged V8 will now live only in memory as Jaguar steps fully into the EV era. For enthusiasts, the retirement feels like losing an old friend. The F-Type wasn't simply a sports car, it embodied an emotional connection to a time when design, sound, and raw performance were at the core of Jaguar's DNA. Its absence highlights a tension in today's industry. The push for sustainability often comes at the expense of visceral driving experiences. Still, Jaguar insists this is not the end of excitement, just a transformation. The question is whether its upcoming electric models can recapture the thrill that cars like the F-Type delivered. Can silent acceleration replace the sound and character that once defined Jaguar? That remains uncertain. The end of the F-Type is more than a product decision. It is the closing of a cultural chapter, the moment when a brand built on speed and seduction pivots to a future defined by silence and electricity. For now, the roads lose a sports car that once made them feel alive. Number 1. Maserati Ghibli. The Maserati Ghibli returned to the automotive stage in 2013 with a clear mission: expand Maserati's reach by offering a mid-size luxury sedan positioned below the flagship Quattroporte. With sleek Italian styling, a growling engine lineup, and the appeal of exclusivity, it was designed to stand out among rivals like the BMW 5 Series and Mercedes-Benz E-Class. For a time, the Ghibli delivered on its promise. It brought more buyers into the Maserati family, offering them a taste of Italian performance without the daunting price tag of the brand's top-tier models. But as the years went on, the sedan landscape shifted dramatically. Consumer interest tilted toward SUVs, and the luxury market became increasingly defined by electrification. Against that backdrop, the Ghibli's role grew harder to justify. By 2024, Maserati quietly ended production of the Ghibli, redirecting its resources toward electrified models and SUV-heavy demand. The decision reflects not only the brand's evolution, but also the shrinking presence of sedans across the luxury space. What once represented the heart of executive transport has, in many lineups, become a niche offering. The Ghibli itself was always something of an outlier. It wasn't as refined as German competitors, but it compensated with character, distinct design, and an unmistakable soundtrack. For owners, it was less about spreadsheets of specifications and more about the feeling of driving something rare and unapologetically Italian. Its discontinuation narrows Maserati's lineup, but clarifies its direction. The company is investing heavily in electrification, preparing vehicles that merge its heritage of performance with modern demands for efficiency and sustainability. The Ghibli, while important for expanding the brand's audience, didn't align with those priorities. For enthusiasts, the loss is bittersweet. The Ghibli may not have dominated its segment, but it offered variety and flair in a market often dominated by predictability. Its departure underscores how even storied brands must adapt, sometimes at the cost of individuality. The end of the Ghibli is not the end of Maserati's story, but it is the end of an era where the brand tried to balance exclusivity with accessibility. Going forward, Maserati's ambitions rest firmly on an electrified future. These 8 vehicles, ranging from affordable hatchbacks to supercars and luxury sedans, share one thing in common. They were quietly retired, overshadowed by bigger shifts in the industry. Each model carried history, emotion, and purpose. But the relentless push toward electrification, SUVs, and market efficiency left little room for sentiment. Their exits remind us that cars are more than just machines. They're cultural artifacts that reflect the times. As we move further into an electric-driven future, it's worth pausing to remember the models that shape the roads we drive on today. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Drop a comment below and let us know which discontinued car you'll miss the most, or which one you think deserved a longer run. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the ever-changing world of cars.